Hey guys, it's Emily, and today I have another sermon for you guys. It's called Fulfilling His Promise. Guys, I want you to think about who His is. Like, who is it? Is it Abraham? Is it Jesus? Who is His? And at the end of my sermon, I will tell you who His is. And, of course, this sermon is written by me, Emily. Adam and Eve. Wait, Adam and Eve? That's how far we're going in time? Yes, that is when God's promise started. Therefore, it is the right place to start the sermon. You see, when Adam and Eve sinned against God, God promised and predicted many things. You might remember part of Genesis 3:15. If you do not know about Genesis 3 verse 15, I invite you to read that verse. Part of Genesis 3 verse 15 says, "He will bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel." That was when he promised that Jesus would come to earth to wash away our sins and destroy Satan once and for all. Whoa, wait. Where did we get Jesus coming to earth from? Satan, he will bruise his head and you will bruise his heel. Where did we get that from? Keep on listening to find out. Well, this is just the start of a promise, so you gotta keep on listening to find out. Isaac and Jacob. Isaac had 2 sons. Guys, I hit it. I kept them. Sorry, guys. Okay. Abraham. The stories of Abraham are all interesting and stand out from the others. But there is one point in the stories that I would like to make right now. Throughout some of the stories, God promised Abraham a son. Abraham was very old and seen as too old to have children. One day, Abraham and his wife Sarah had a baby boy. Can you believe it? You see how old this guy is? He looks very old right now. And he had a baby boy. They named the boy Isaac because I actually want you guys to find out why he named it Isaac. Find out what Isaac means and read the story behind that name. Okay, guys? Isaac and Jacob. Isaac had twin sons named Esau and Jacob. Esau was a bit older than Jacob, so he was supposed to get the birthright. The birthright is basically the inheritance the eldest son is supposed to inherit. So if you guys don't know what inheritance is, it's like, say, if your father had $500 and when your father passed away, you would get that $500. Well, usually it would be in a will, but back then it was called a birthright. Esau sold his inheritance to Jacob, his birthright to Jacob, for a bowl of lentil stew. Can you believe it? Esau was so hungry that he would sell his entire birthright to his brother just for some lentil stew. What would you do in that situation? I don't think I would have done it, but who knows? I wasn't in Esau's position. Sometime later, Jacob tricked Isaac because Isaac was blind into giving Jacob the blessing that belonged to Esau. So Esau was supposed to get a blessing because he was the oldest son. Another good thing about being the eldest. But because Isaac was blind, Rebecca, Jacob's mother, and Jacob plotted together so that Jacob would get the birthright. Guys, I also want you to read that story too. Esau was so mad that Jacob got the blessing that he wanted to kill Jacob. So Jacob had to leave his home. Can you guys believe getting mad at your siblings or your siblings getting mad at you? I bet you can. Or maybe if you don't have siblings, can you imagine your friend or your parents getting mad at you? Can you imagine them getting so mad that you had to leave your home? I'm not sure if I can imagine that. My sister and I get pretty mad at each other, but not that mad. Years later, the brothers reunited. Can you believe that? Imagine your brother or your sister or your friend or your parent leaving for years and years and years. They finally come back. How would you feel? I think I would feel very, very happy. Jacob had a son that you probably know. His name was Joseph. Guys, if you don't know who Joseph is, I hope that you actually search it up or look in the Bible and figure out the story of Joseph. Joseph was a very important person in the Bible. But now we're going to Ruth. Ruth was a Moabite. Her mother-in-law, her sister-in-law, and her own husband had died. So Ruth's mother-in-law was named Naomi. Some time ago, Naomi, her husband, and her sons moved to Moab. They used to live in Israel, but they moved because of a famine there. A famine is basically when there's no food to eat. Maybe it's because a drought, maybe there's locusts, but there's no food to eat, so they can't live there. They might have starved. Now Naomi's sons and husband died, and the famine in Israel was over, so she wanted to return. Guys, can you believe leaving your country? Because, if you guys live in America, I live in America, but I'm just going to use America. If you don't live in America, sorry, but because can you believe leaving America just because there's a famine in the whole country? I could not believe that. I would miss. There would be a lot of people I'd miss. But even through this hard time, God was working out a plan. Both of her daughters-in-law wanted to go with her. Their names was Orpah and Ruth. Naomi did not let them and told them they were still of age to be married and to go and marry someone else. Naomi probably didn't want the girls to be with her because maybe it was because they know the Israelites and the Moabites didn't get along. Maybe she thought that they wouldn't marry if they were with her, and she wanted them to have the best life possible. Orpah left, ended up leaving. Ruth stayed with Naomi. Ruth met Boaz while gleaning in his fields. So what is gleaning? Guys, I hope you guys search that up because I'm not going to tell you, even though I know what it is, but I want you guys to figure it out for yourselves. After a while, they ended up married. They gave birth to a son named Obed. You might not know what Obed is. And Obed had a son named Jesse. You guys might or might not know who Jesse is. But you guys probably know who this is. Jesse had a son named, can you guess it? You guys can see it, I'm going to cover it up. David. I wonder if you guys know who David is. Yay, now you're going to find out if you don't. David loved the Lord with all his heart. When he was a boy, he slayed the giant Goliath. Can you believe that? Joseph probably was a little 5-year-old when he slayed Goliath, but he still was pretty young, and he slayed this giant Goliath. That was really brave because none of the fully trained soldiers could do it. Well, they didn't do it. They could have done it with God, but only David had the guts to do it. Would you have the guts to do that? I probably would not, honestly. How about you? He also became the king of Israel. God promised David that there would always be a descendant on the throne. What an amazing promise. And if you look throughout the Bible, they talk a lot about David. So his name is mentioned pretty much all throughout the Bible, and he was known as a very great king. David's grandson, Rehoboam, decided to make the taxes higher. Not so good. So the kingdom was split in two. God still kept his promise to David in that time because Rehoboam was still David's grandson, and they kept on going with the descendants. His promise was still kept when Jesus was born. Guys, that is so many years. Like, I can't even imagine how many years. Like a lot, a billion, probably not that long, but a lot of years. And Jesus is from the line of David, believe it or not. And he will reign as king forever. Can you imagine keeping a promise for that long? I probably forget my promise from a week probably. After a week, I'll probably just forget it and it'll just fly past my mind. But God knows all, and he remembers everything. And he remembers the promise he kept from Adam and Eve all the way to David, and even farther, Mary. Okay. I know that we went really far into the Bible. We skipped the story. We went by the story of Jonah. We went by the story of Jonah, Hosea, Ezekiel, Isaiah, all those people. But this is when it really ties all together. Mary was a virgin, which means she was young and she was not married. One day an angel named Gabriel came to her. Can you imagine if an angel visited you? What would you say? What would you behave like? I'm not sure at all. He told her that she would have a son. He told her to name his son Jesus and that he would be the king. God was keeping his promise from the beginning with Adam and Eve, even until now he's keeping his promise that one day Jesus will come again to take us to heaven if we believe in him. Isn't that amazing, guys? He kept his promise for so long, and now he's even keeping his promise now that one day Jesus will come back for all of us if we believe that he died on the cross for us. For me, for you, for your family, for your friends, for everyone. Okay. You guys might have some questions. You guys might have some questions for me. But if you don't know me personally, and you probably can't get in touch because of the coronavirus, so I want you guys to not just ignore your questions. I want you guys to ask your parents, your friends, anyone you trust, your guardian, Google if you want to. You can search in the Bible, your pastor, other people that you want to ask. You can ask anybody your questions when you trust them with the right answer to give you the right answer. Okay, guys, there's questions for me. There's questions for you. True or false? Guys, that was nice to you again. God's promise started with Cain and Abel. True or false? True or false? Pause. Guys, you always remember to pause if you need more time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is false. It started with Adam and Eve. Okay, second one. Abraham and Sarah had a baby girl. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They had a baby boy. Okay, next question. Jacob was part of God's plan. Remember, guys, Jacob wasn't a really good person. He would be a part of God's plan. He lied. He did some really not so good things. I don't think he could be. Maybe he could. I don't know. You have to figure it out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is yes. Anybody could be a part of God's plan. Even the meanest person you ever met in the world. The most annoying person, the most weirdest person, anybody could be a part of God's plan. Isaac was Jacob's son. This is a tricky one, guys. I hope you were paying attention. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer was no. Isaac Isaac was not Jacob's son. Jacob was Isaac's son, which makes it kind of confusing. And I also I'm going to add a bit of a little extra question that I didn't put in. Who was Jacob's son? If Isaac wasn't it, who was? I'll give you a hint. What's the first letter of Jacob's name? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is Joseph. Okay, next one. David is related to Ruth. No cheating, guys. I want you to think about if you know this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is yes. Conclusion. Can you imagine keeping a promise for that long? Yeah, I probably would forget over that time. God kept his promise for thousands and thousands of years. That is amazing, guys. His promise was fulfilled through Jesus. Many people talked about the coming of the Messiah. Guys, you know what's kind of sad, what's really sad? The Pharisees. They knew so much about the Messiah. They were waiting and waiting and waiting. But they missed a chance to realize that Jesus was the Messiah. Some believed. Many people talked about the coming of the Messiah. Some believed them. Some others didn't. Which led to something called persecution. I invite you guys to find out what persecution is and find out some of those people who were like they're called prophets. I want you to think of 2 prophets. I can think of 2 certain people like the ones I just described. Can you figure out who they are? I'll give you a hint. Both of their names are books of the Bible, Old Testament. God made another promise that started around when Jesus ascended to heaven, and is still going on right now. The promise was that one day Jesus would come back to take us to heaven if we believe in him. So, guys, I have some pictures here. So from the very start, when Jesus was born in the stable, to when he died on the cross, to when he rose again, and this one did not happen yet. This is a picture of what someone thinks might happen when Jesus comes again. Do you guys believe that Jesus died on the cross for you? Can you tell others about Jesus? Guys, I hope you learned a lot about this sermon. But before we end, I am going to pray. Dear Lord, thank you for keeping your promise for all those years. Thank you that you want to invite everyone to go to heaven with you. Please help us to tell others about you and to believe in you. Amen. Okay, guys, now I'm going to say goodbye.